everyone. It's Scrambles, back out on the trail again for another day hike. Today I am at Pyramid Mountain in New Jersey. And I had a hard time deciding where to hike today because we're kind of in that shoulder season now. Normally where I hike, I tend to go up north. I like to hike in Harriman a lot. But the trails where I normally hike have been really super icy lately. We are not in the heart of winter anymore, so it's not that everything is snowy. I can do snow. I have snowshoes, I go out in the snow, I have crampons. In fact, back in January, I went out with Stan the Man for a snow hike. And one of the things that I discovered on that hike was that with my new boots, my old crampons didn't work well and they kept sliding off. So I was glad to find that out, but it meant that I was slip sliding all over the place for that whole hike. But I bought a pair of new crampons, but there hasn't really been snow. What there has been on the trails is ice. So I chose Pyramid Mountain because I've been here before. It's not that far up north. I figured that chances were better that the trail wouldn't be all icy, and even if it was, I'm familiar with the trail and I knew I could probably navigate it anyway. It's pretty chilly today. The high is going to be maybe mid-40s and it's in the 30s right now, so it's still a little bit cold. So I stopped for a second to layer down because I'm climbing uphill. So I took off one of my long sleeve layers and I took off the neck gaiter. The trail is actually in pretty good shape. There's not a whole lot of snow on the trail or ice, except in little patches to the side, which is good for hiking, but not so good because I was hoping to try out the new crampons today and see how they are. I don't know if I'll need crampons this summer on the John Muir Trail. During heavy snow years, there's still snow in the mountain passes and crampons are really helpful. During low snow years, there is no snow left on the passes. And I've been following the weather, and back in December they got pounded and it looked like it was going to be a high snow year. But then they've got almost nothing since then. And so now it's down to dropping to average and below average, so it might end up being a low snow year. But I won't really know until we get closer to late April, and by that time there'll be no snow left around here. I won't be able to test out the crampons. So I was hoping to test out the new crampons that fit really nicely on the new boots. So there's a lot that has to be done to prepare for a trek on the John Muir Trail. First of all, I have to think about food and resupply because there's not much of anything in the way of stores along the route where I could just go in and buy stuff. So I have to send myself resupply meals. So I have to think about how far I'm going to hike each day, how long between resupply points, how many meals I need to send to each resupply point. So there's a certain amount of logistics there, which I don't mind. I'm pretty good at planning. The other thing I have to consider is being in good enough physical shape. And I would love to just be able to go out and hike every day to get myself in physical shape. But I can't get out every day to hike. So in between, I have to look for other ways to get myself strong and stay in shape. So, in addition to making sure I'm in good enough physical shape to handle the trail, there are other thoughts that keep going through my mind as well. One of which is the elevation. Now, I've hiked up to 12,000 feet, so I know what it's like to hike at higher elevations, and I know that the lack of oxygen up that high really slows me down pretty significantly. Another thing that I've been thinking about is that this is going to be my longest backpacking trip ever. Prior to this, my longest backpacking trip was 12 days, and this is going to be about a month. And the third thing I keep thinking about is the mountain passes, and there are a couple of them that make me a little nervous. They're very tall, very open, very exposed. And if you remember from my last video, I explained my fear of heights. So that's going to be interesting to see how I do on those. One of the things I really like about Pyramid Mountain is the geology in this park. And one of my favorite geological features is called Tripod Rock. And they call it that because it's a really large boulder perched on top of 3 smaller boulders. Now, Tripod Rock is what's known as a glacial erratic, which basically means it doesn't come from this area. It was actually brought here by a glacier during the last ice age. At that time, the glaciers from the north advanced and came down south as far as New York and New Jersey. And the Wisconsin glacier dragged this particular large boulder and the 3 small ones under it. And about 18 to 20,000 years ago, when the glacier started to melt as the ice age ended, all of these boulders were dropped from the melting glacier, and they just happened to fall in this particular pattern, with the large one sitting on top of the 3 smaller ones. And it's been here like this ever since. And this large boulder is really big. It weighs about 180 tons. Now, Tripod Rock is easily large enough for people to be able to crawl underneath. And I've seen people do this on a number of occasions. I am not going to do that. I realize that it's been here for 20,000 years, and the chances of the whole thing collapsing while I'm under it are probably really slim. And there is at least just as good of a chance that the upper floors of my house could collapse on me while I'm downstairs on the first floor. However, I have really good reasons to be in my house. I have no good reason to crawl under that rock, so I'll not be doing that today. All right, so we've reached a trail intersection. The blue trail ends here, and the orange trail goes to the right and to the left. But the best way to make a loop is to head left down the hill here, and we'll circle around past some other glacial features. right, so we've come to another one of those big rocks that was dragged here by a glacier. While this one isn't balancing on three little stones, if you use your imagination, you can kind of see that it looks a little bit like a whale's head, which is how it got its name, Whalehead Rock. So this is another glacial erratic. This one is called Bear Rock, and it was also dragged here by the glacier, but it's so much bigger than either of the other two. If you look closely in the foreground, you can see my hiking poles up against it. This thing is the size of a house. And if we go around to the other side, you can see that part of the back half split off and makes a little platform that you can go up. So I'm almost back to the car. Today's hike wasn't very long. I probably only did 5 or 6 miles, but I planned it that way because I wasn't sure how icy the trails were going to be. I hope you enjoyed the little geology lesson today, and I hope that you'll join me next time. See you down the trail.